feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hooker Renfro. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app. You can download that. It's free in your phone. You can watch and listen to our program daily in its entirety, and always go back and check us out if you happen to miss anything there. Follow us across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB. And at Darren Goldwater. Also, you can find us at jbandgoldwatershow.com. 843-321-8893 is our text line, and it is open and available for any of you to chime in and be a part of what we've got to say today until 2 o'clock. We'll be joined at 12:30 by Collyn Taylor from Gamecock Central and Scott Glaze at 1:30 on golf. The Open Championship, of course, has been underway for about 8 hours. It started, I think, about 4 o'clock this morning. And so we're going to get you some updates there. We've got a lot of football to get to, certainly in the SEC, but also elsewhere around the country. Texas is being protected by the Big 12. Can't be mean to them anymore. We'll tell you about that here in just a little bit. Baseball is back tonight, just one game in Major League Baseball, and then the rest of the second half starts tomorrow, but do have a couple of nuggets to pass along there. Clemson, of course, you probably have heard by now, has made Brent Venables the highest paid assistant coach in college football. It is deserved. He might be the best assistant coach out there. And so we'll get into some of that in just a little while as well. Obviously, we'll talk some Gamecock baseball with Collyn and try to figure out where this thing is going. Carolina needs to make 2 hires to complete their staff. So we do have some updates. I was up kind of digging around on some of that last night, and we'll get into all that today on this July the 15th, Darren. It is Media Day's conclusion for the Big 12, and then starting Monday, the SEC gets rocking and rolling. The ACC is later on next week. The Big 10, Pac-12, everybody's kind of getting into football mood across the country. And we'll start to have some of these fall storylines trickle out. But first and foremost, good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Oh, it feels like it's, I don't know, sometime in the middle of the night by this point. Number one, July, it feels like it's a long month. Then I knew today would be a long day. We had an appointment for our daughter this morning. And then at 4:30 in the morning, we had some guy who decided to stop with his hazards on in a nice quiet neighborhood, on a quiet street of the neighborhood, right outside in view of the camera of the house, which woke the dog at 4:30 in the morning. It's been a fun 8 hours to start this day. So happy sports. Let's talk sports.
You may as well have just stayed up and watched the Open.
I debated it. I came very, very close.
Yeah, I mean, I know Derek Scott's been up, and he probably hasn't missed a shot. This is his, as much as he loves Gamecock baseball, basketball, all sports, being the voice of those two, specifically for Carolina. He loves the Open. I'll probably send him a text in a little while and see if he's going to need a nap or not.
I will.
But yeah, it's been a pretty good tournament. So you get that last night. The night before, we get the dudes coming through our neighborhood, breaking into cars and stealing my neighbor's truck. What is Thursday night going to bring? God only knows. hopefully sleep. We do know at Royal St. George's Golf Club in Kent, England, otherwise known as Sandwich, Louis Oosthuizen is leading right now. He's in the clubhouse at 6 under. He's a shot ahead of a pair of Americans who are 5 under par. One is Brian Harmon. The other, with a 65 today, is Jordan Spieth. A great first round for Jordan across the pond. Following both of them is Dylan Fratelli, the South African at 4 under. He is joined by Mackenzie Hughes. And here we go again. Here's this name popping up. Stuart Sink. I mean, Stuart Sink, he hadn't won a ton of tournaments this year. I know he won in Hilton Head, and Darren, I think he won one more somewhere.
He did. Yeah.
So he's got a pair of wins, but, I know he hasn't been in every one of them, but seemingly it seems like in most tournaments we look up the leaderboard and he's somewhere floating around the top 10. It's been pretty neat.
He's had a heck of a season so far. And a part of that, as he has said, is due to the fact that his son's been on the bag. It's just been a nice, calming walk out there for each week, for each stop. And they've worked very well together. Part of it is, he's in his 40s. He's in fine shape. He's playing good golf. I mean, that's the bottom line. He's been around. So's your Bezidnote. He's off to a good start.
Right. Absolutely. So, we'll keep our eyes on this. Really looking forward to Scott Glaze's conversation on the Open coming up at 1:30 today, specifically because this championship is always significantly different from the 3 that are played here in the States. And there are a bunch of different angles to kind of look at this. Weather seemingly is always a topic of the Open. You just don't ever know what it's going to do out there. But we'll get to all that coming up here in just a little while again with Scotty at about 1:30 this afternoon. Again, 843-321-8893 is our text number. You can always chime in like Tyler and Clint and guys like that are doing via Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or whatever. And Darren will make you a part of our program here on the JB and Goldwater show. I want to make sure that we mention the NBA Finals here in just a second. Before we do that, though, for Carolina football fans, I want to make sure that we kind of pass this along. So earlier today, Tennessee and Syracuse were announced in 2025 as part of the Chick-fil-A kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2021, boys and girls. This is not going to be a pressing matter. You don't need to run to kayak and book your rooms or change anything. Just want to make sure we pass it along here. Tennessee, as I mentioned, Tennessee and Syracuse, 2025 Chick-fil-A kickoff game. Well, Virginia Tech and South Carolina are playing in 2025. So here, this happens. There are 2 kickoff games this year in Atlanta. That's not unusual. But here is what is important about this. It has already been set that Tennessee and Syracuse will play Saturday, August the 30th, 2025. Well, why is that important? Well, that means that Carolina and Virginia Tech are either going to draw a Sunday night or a Monday night, which would be Labor Day, September the 1st in 2025. So if you're a planner, and I'm a big planner, if you're one of those girls or guys that likes to get 4 and 5 years in front of your schedule, make sure that you might be a little late to work on Tuesday if you're going to drive to Atlanta for that ball game.
ESPN, for a couple of years now, has been big on the college football Labor Day night game. And there's a nice ring to this. Virginia Tech of Beamerland, Shane Beamer, the Gamecocks. There's an obvious pattern you can follow here.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. So want to make sure that we passed that along. All right. I see Adam's comment here. Rumor has it Landon Powell has interest in joining the baseball staff. As far as I know, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. Collyn will be joining us here in just a little bit. I mentioned was up doing some digging last night. There is some truth in that. And where this goes, I don't know. I do know that Landon's done a great job at North Greenville. Landon is a hero of sorts in Carolina baseball history. Personally speaking, he's the best catcher I've ever watched in my life. And so that certainly means something to it. And I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. But there are other hurdles out there as well as to what the right fit may be for the Gamecock baseball staff. And Landon may be it. Who knows? But yes, there is some interest there. Let's keep in mind also at North Greenville, John Kootlangus, former Gamecock center fielder. He actually pitched in Pro Bowl. He's on that staff. Trey Dyson is on that staff up there. Former South Carolina first baseman Matt Williams is on that staff. And Ryan Brown, former College of Charleston baseball player, he is on that staff as well as a volunteer. Ryan's brother, Kyle Brown, was a pitcher for the Gamecocks back in 2005 until I think 2007 is when arm injuries ended his tenure. So it's a heavy dose of Carolina up there at North Greenville. If LP ends up shifting south, maybe one of those guys steps into the head job up there, something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but nonetheless, yeah, there is some interest there, and we'll talk to Collyn more about that. On the pitching side of things, I've dug around on this. I know that Blake Cooper has significant interest in joining the staff at South Carolina. I'm not exactly sure where conversations are today in that. Remember, this is all very new. Skyler yesterday just signed his deal with Troy, but Blake Cooper does have significant interest in becoming the pitching coach up there. Matt Williams, I just mentioned Matt Williams. There's another Matt Williams. This is shocking. That might be a common name in America. Matt Williams, who is currently the pitching coach up at Liberty. His history is as follows. He actually started his baseball career as a player at Spartanburg Methodist, did play some indie ball, went back to SMC under Coach Wallace as a pitching coach, went to UNC Wilmington as a pitching coach. He's up there at Liberty now. He is really good. I'm saying that from a stance of from a personal stance, and then also from an endorsement stance of guys who have pitched under Matt Williams. He's really good. And he is heavily involved in this process as well. Those are really the only two names I would feel comfortable at this point in time kind of passing along of anything that I know to be true. Elsewhere in the search, again, Collyn coming up in about 15 or so minutes. There are some other names floating around. I personally don't know some of these guys, so I can't really add to that. So I'm not going to go as far as to give you any significant information on that. But I do believe that this more than likely will be a fairly quick transition, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of, you're using a lot of gray words there, James. I know. Come on.
But you're not. We figured that it would be a quick thing because of two things. Number one, where we are in the recruiting process. And then number two, this isn't new. It may have been new in the news cycle yesterday, but this isn't new to those A, in the know, and B, certainly those around the Carolina program. Kingston is already on the path of figuring out who is going to replace Couch and who is going to replace Meade. So it should happen sooner rather than later. Yeah.
I think so. It doesn't always work out that way.
No.
And I know that we're going to have Collyn on here in just a little bit. But I will pass this from John Whittle, who I thought made a great point at the Big Spur yesterday. I think it might have been last night. And, when Coach Kingston had to find a pitching coach, Skyler, I don't want to say he was third on the list necessarily. I can't firmly say that with 100% truth, but there was a little bit of a winding road to get to Skyler. There were a couple of other guys that Coach Kingston, I think, was very interested in, and Skyler ended up being the guy, and boy, did it work out. So, if it takes a little longer for some reason, if names pop up and then they don't land at Carolina for whatever reason, and it becomes another guy, I would just caution people from saying, well, gosh, we can't even hire the guy. We're Carolina baseball. I hear you. I get it. We should be able to hire whoever we want to. There's always a little bit more to it than what you think. This is not a video game.
No.
There are things that come up. There's family situations. There's money situations. There's contract situations. There's a lot that goes into it.
It's not that simple. Carolina baseball is not a program right now where you're just dropping everything to join it, regardless of where you are and regardless of your situation. That's not what it is. So will you get number one? Maybe. If not, that's the way it goes. When I got the SoCon TV job, what got me out of radio and then into the television play-by-play world, at best, I was the third candidate on that list. I know for a fact they went hard after two guys in front of me. It fell to me. I like to think that it worked out for them. They kept me around for 6 or 7 years. It certainly worked out for me. So, yeah, it can work out if it's not going to be your number one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I totally agree, Darren. We'll see where this goes, and Collyn's going to have more on that. We're going to get into some Carolina football as well. We do know who's going to media days for the Gamecocks now, and Nick Muse and JJ Inigbare. Again, at the Open Championship, Louis Oosthuizen leads by a stroke. Everybody in the top 7, with the exception of 2, are finished. Keith Mitchell at 3 under, Benjamin Hebert at 3 under. Both of them still have a few holes to go. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Also, before moving forward, look, I'm not a big NBA guy. I think everybody understands that. We don't talk the NBA around here. But we do support our local brethren. And Chris Middleton had a hell of a night for the Bucks last night, dropping 40 points in the NBA championship or the NBA finals. Obviously, if you're all in on the NBA, you're probably not all in on us around here. That's okay. We understand that. You've probably seen it and heard it all day. So I did check in on that last night. What a night for the Porter Gaud grad and Low Country alumni of the Low Country, if you want to call him that. Low Country son or hero. Great guy, by the way. Great guy. But I'll say this, man. One of the reasons why I don't watch the NBA is because of some of the junk you saw in it last night, like the non-fouls. Like, how was that one foul not called on Devin Booker? I happened to tune it in. I was in my office doing some things, and I was just like, well, let me cut it on. And I saw that, and I was like, oh, and I looked up, and they're just moving right along.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, like, how do you have any confidence in a sport? There was a 6-point win last night. Series is tied at 2. That's a huge play in the game. This guy literally knocks him over and nothing.
When I was growing up around the NBA, I was following the NBA, and I was big into the NBA. Once I came down here, and now it's like 20 years, it's hard to stay in tune to it unless you really, really love it. And it's one of the things that you're actively trying to stay in tune to. When I do watch, I'm always impressed. I always think the product is better than I would have imagined. It's the best of the best, like a tiny infantile percent of the best college guys that you know. So that's the level of play, but I didn't watch a second of it last night. I'm happy for Chris Middleton. I'm happy for the local guy. I'm happy for NBA fans that now have a series tied at 2. I didn't flip to the game for a second.
Yeah, and I haven't been either. I just saw what was going on with Middleton, and I wanted to support our local guys. That's my motto around here, but it's hard to watch. I mean, it's just this is my own personal opinion. It's just,
and if you don't have a rooting interest, and it's the Bucks and
Phoenix,
yeah, and Phoenix. See, that's how long it took me to come up with that. Tim Doyle's Phoenix Suns, by the way. If there's no real rooting interest, sorry. I'll watch the World Series because I'm a huge baseball fan, whether or not the Yankees are in it. I'll watch the Super Bowl because I'm a huge NFL guy, whether or not my team is in it. Yeah, I'm not watching hockey playoffs unless the Caps are in it, and I'm not watching the NBA unless the Wizards are in it.
I agree, man. I totally agree. 843-321-8893 is our text line. Also, you can chime in via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and be a part of our show. Again, Collyn Taylor, Scott Glaze ahead on our program. Baseball is back tonight with the Red Sox and the Yankees at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Only one game to be played in baseball today. Congratulations to former Clemson left-hander Charlie Barnes. His start last night in AAA was canned because tomorrow night he will get a start in the big leagues for the first time ever with the Minnesota Twins. So that is really, really neat for the Clemson baseball program and Charlie Barnes. All right, Big 12 Media Days yesterday and today. And what is increasingly becoming the topic of conversation is horns down. The lead official in the Big 12 has said probably, it's not 100%. He said, yeah, you have to make sure that you take it into context and things like that. Let's not be the Twitterverse here. Let's actually state what he said. And what he said was the word probably is that if you horns down a Texas player, to his face, taunting basically, that will be a penalty, and I'm assuming that will be an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which would carry a 15-yard flag with it. Darren, your thoughts?
So is there a reason behind it? Is this related to any type of the eyes of Texas and any of the racial instances? Because I did not read this myself because I was with the appointment with my daughter. So if there's no reason, it's other than, hey, you're giving their signal upside down, and obviously that means you're taunting them.
Yeah.
If that's the logic, that's slightly soft. I mean, it's not like it's the finger that's in the middle of your hand, and it's not like it's a.
Apparently, you're better off doing that.
Apparently, you are, as long as you don't get caught doing it. I mean, it's I don't unless that's super offensive, and if it is, someone let me know. It doesn't seem like it's offensive.
I would think that it would need to carry something with it because I don't agree. I'm with you. This is incredibly soft. And as far as I've researched as much as I possibly can, which is everything that's out there, to be honest with you, has nothing to do with anything related, like you were mentioning. This has been going on for a while. We all know this, and it's always been: is it allowed or not allowed? I think it's. I'll just say the word. I think it's stupid. The Oklahoma State Cowboys. Their guns up. What if somebody does guns down to them? I mean, is that are we flagging that? I don't get it. What I was getting at is I think that this should carry more of an attempt to taunt than just horns down. Like if you make a big tackle and you horns down it and you walk away, who cares? If you stand over the top of somebody and shout in their face with a horns down, that has always been a flag. One of the great examples in this state is what DJ Swearinger did in Clemson 9 years ago. He knocked Andre Ellington on his rear end. He stood over the top of him and he flexed. Should that be a flag? Some people still don't even think that it should. It's a violent sport. They're letting out emotion, whatever. That's not for me to argue. All I'm saying is it has been a flag. That's in the rule book. That's taunting. So, but just because you give a horns down sign, that's taunting? I don't think so. Like I said, Darren, you'd have to stand on top of them or get in their face and put it in their helmet or something like that.
And taunt them other than just a symbol. So in a simple Google search, here's an article from ESPN. I want to say it was 2019. It's a history of basically just disrespecting Texas and the University of Texas. So the players don't like it. I understand why you don't like it.
No.
Right. I mean, I get it. I understand why you don't like it. It's a little bit of taunting. This isn't like violent taunting. If you're getting up in your face with horns down, the problem is that I went face to face and face mask to face mask. Not that I didn't want to.
Exactly. Taunting is taunting. Like just because you drop a horns down. I mean, what if somebody in the SEC gives a Spurs down to Carolina fans? Is that all of a sudden, a member of the South Carolina football team? Is that taunting? No. Is it disrespectful? No. I don't. How? If I was the opposing player, I would care less. Like, okay, name, image, and likeness here. You're all big boys, right? Y'all are all out there hitting each other and beating each other up. Now you're making money on your names, and you got all these responsibilities as an adult, and somebody can't give you the horns down sign. Are you kidding me? I don't. Whatever, dude. Bob Bowlesby just needs to step up and say, I don't care what he said, the director of officiating, that's not going to be a penalty. We're not going to do that. Because, I mean, honestly, like you, Darren, think about like the Pandora's box that you're opening here. I mean, if that is, you could literally, every other league in the team could just create some type of, quote, offensive symbol, and that would not be taunting. You know what I mean?
Like the throat slash thing. I get it. That's taunting. That is offensive. That is a symbol of like death, right?
Right.
Horns down is taking the logo and flipping it upside down. Again, if we're wrong here, if there's somebody from Texas or a Texas fan who wants to give an explanation for why this is so bitterly offensive, I'll take that. But I don't see that or understand that.
I don't either. I just don't get it, man. I think that the officials in the Big 12 are way off on this. Way off. I mean, and by the way, if this is a Big 12 rule, okay, but what are you going to do if Texas is in a bowl game and the officiating crew, and it won't be, isn't from the Big 12? I mean, that's not their rule, so you can do it all day, right? I mean, there's not going to be any consistency to this. This is a joke, to be honest with you. This is another.
Coaches will tell you there isn't much consistency anyway between the way games are officiated over conferences.
No, and that's exactly right. This is another reason I think that we need to look at just creating one officiating umbrella, basically. Yeah. NCAA official, or whatever you want to call them. And, I understand that there are other things that go into that. You don't want to have to travel guys from South Carolina to Oregon or LA to New York and stuff like that. I understand that, but that's not my point. Like, you can still regionalize officials and train them all underneath one umbrella. I mean, why would you not do that? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I wonder when, because it'll be a when, not an if, when the Power Five break away and there's something other than just one large NCAA for football, I wonder if you don't see something along those lines, because the officials are already in place. It's just a matter of who they're governed by. So if things start changing, it could start changing, I guess, who employs them, where their union is focused, things like that. And maybe instead of various different leagues, regions, it's all one thing. It's centralized.
It should be.
Yeah.
Just doesn't make any sense, man. It's like if you could change, we need to do a whole show on this one day. If you could change whatever you wanted to change about college football or college athletics in general, I mean, I would have like not just you could have conference commissioners, but you need to have a czar or a commissioner or a college sports president or something like that. And then to have some type of pyramid structure here, and officiating, refereeing, umpiring, that would all fall under one category. I'm not saying that, Joe Marion, who calls games in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, this area, needs to be flying to Oklahoma for a 3-game series between the Sooners and Oklahoma State in the middle of April. I'm not saying that, but they can all be and I know that there's like Darren, you know this. I mean, baseball and basketball crosses leagues more than anybody. But I get that, but they're still trained by those leagues. Like, they're not trained by the NCAA. And
it's weird because they go off the same rule book. It's just the training is done separately. So inherently things are done differently, and the style of play factors in, and not because it should, because it's human nature.
That's right. I see Steven's note here. I'll never forget Tom Herman taunting Drew Lock after the touchdown celebration. Did he get a penalty for that? I can't remember.
Don't remember.
I don't remember either. You know what he's talking about, right?
I don't remember that one, no.
Where Tom Herman went like prancing down the sideline doing the Drew Lock. I can't remember what Drew Lock used to act like he was putting on a business suit when he threw a touchdown pass. You remember that? Like, you put his arms into it and tighten it in the front.
No, because I don't care about any of that stuff. That's why. So none of it really sticks with me.
No, yeah. Well, that was the only reason. I mean, I saw it because Carolina played against him. Mm-hmm. I thought it was pretty cool. I had never seen that before. So if he threw a big touchdown pass or made a big play or something, it'd be like he was pulling a suit on and you tighten the front of the suit to make it look good. Like, like I'm here for business, that type of thing. And that was kind of his little deal when he would throw a touchdown. And then Texas was beating them. I'm pretty sure it was a bowl game. And Tom Herman went up and down the sideline doing that and mocking the quarterback of the other team.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. I mean, maybe as a head coach, you should probably think better. But Drew Lock brought it on himself. If you're going to go out there and do something like that, I guess it's the same you could say for the horns up, horns down thing. If you're going to go out there and do it, accept it. Accept the consequences of you going out there and doing it. People will react to you. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, I don't care. I think it was childish of a head coach to do that. I mean, no head coach does that. But, like, I don't know if it should or shouldn't have been a penalty, but based on the conversation we're having, probably should have been a penalty. I mean,
right? I mean, that's Drew Lock's sign. Now, this is the Texas sign. This is a penalty, and something like that wouldn't be a penalty. See, there's no consistency. It doesn't make sense.
Look, if you're going to be out there flaunting around, accept what comes back to you when you deservedly have it coming back to you. If you're gonna talk, be able to accept other people talking.
Yeah, I absolutely. That's part of it. It's always been part of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit a timeout. When we return, Collyn with 2 L's. Collyn Taylor from Gamecock Central is set to pop in on the latest on the Gamecock baseball coaching search. We'll get into some media day stuff with him. It is 12:30 on the dot. That means on Thursday means it's buy one, get one half off foot-long cheesesteaks. So if you're in the low country of South Carolina, DB's Cheesesteaks can treat you today for a discount. 2 footlongs, 1 half off, and whatever you do, don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. Look at their menu right now. I'm looking at all you guys. Clint, Tyler, Steven. I know one of you's on the golf course. I forget who said it. Maybe Tyler, but I don't care. You got your phone on you. Pull it up and look at the menu and tell me your mouth won't water, especially when you see what's in that buffalo chicken cheesesteak. DB's Cheesesteaks. Collyn Taylor up next right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with 0 down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike 2.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with 0 down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right, local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
All right, 12:34 on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. JB, Darren, and Collyn with 2 L's. Collyn Taylor with Gamecock Central, kind enough to give us some of his time today to get into some Carolina baseball. Obviously, you know what we're getting after there, and some football. But before Collyn, before I get you in here, we have some breaking news. This is from ABC News.
Oh,
okay. Ranny, the 20-inch tall miniature cow, is 26 inches long and 57 pounds, and she appears to have broken a Guinness World Record for the world's shortest cow. So I want to make sure we pass that along to everybody. Hey, Collyn.
does that mean the burger's better?
I don't know.
Because probably, or like the ribs or something. because there must be more tender because they or maybe they're firmer because there's more muscle. I don't know. We should test this.
It's big stuff. Collyn.
I've done a lot of radio hits in my day. That was the most unique intro I've probably ever done. So
Well, the key is to just treat it like any other story. And, according to ABC News, with everything we got going on in the world, this is important. So they got it out there. We'll see what happens to this young calf.
So to both of you, have you ever seen a cow? PETA is going to love me for this. Have you ever seen a cow prior to, or at least understanding that shortly thereafter you will be eating said cow?
I haven't.
Mine was tasty. The first time was back in college because there are farms around Penn State, if you haven't heard. And that was the first time. And then I saw a picture of what I was eating another time.
Oh,
yeah. Very good. Very, very good.
I can say this with the utmost confidence. I've seen probably 1,000 fish in my life that I ate right after. Easily. Not live though, Collyn. I didn't eat live fish. Like I didn't go fishing and then reel in a 23-inch redfish and just take a bite out of it. You've got to scale it and then you have to fillet it.
Collyn, like the chicken finger comfort zone here.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I willingly ate seafood. So,
well, I mean, I'm sitting here talking about eating a live fish, and you ate a chicken's fingers. So, I mean, was the chicken alive or not?
No, but I didn't even know if it had a name. So we'll figure it out next time I go to McDonald's or get something off the kids menu at a sit down restaurant. I'll ask them if the chicken had a name and report back to you guys.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk about anything that has anything to do with Carolina, or should we just continue to be idiots? It's Thursday. Yeah.
I've been called an idiot by worse people, so let's do whatever you guys want to do. If you want to talk food, all that fun stuff, let's do it.
Yeah, I've been called way worse than that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to let's start with Carolina baseball, and then we'll kind of ease into media days, Collyn. But obviously, a big day yesterday for the future of Gamecock baseball with the announcements that both Skylar Meade and Trip Couch will be departing the program. Skylar, first of all, big props to him and becoming a head coach in a very quality school, by the way. Troy has a really good baseball program. And Trip Couch, if folks have read Gamecock Central, you've documented these things, is joining an old buddy of his and coaching out there at the University of Arizona. So both moving on to great situations, but Carolina's going to have to find a way to fill those roles and probably in pretty decent time, in a timely manner. What's the latest on the pitching coach situation and Trip Couch's assistant coach position for the Gamecocks?
Yeah, it's moving quick. I would anticipate interviews, if they haven't already started, to start very soon, maybe as early as today, as Kingston tries to flesh things out. Because like you said, it has to move quick. Recruiting and getting the team together. I mean, guys start reporting in August. They're not already on campus. So, yeah, interviews are going to be taking place soon. And obviously you have a short list of candidates. If you get told no, or if, someone passes on the opportunity or you're not blown away, then obviously it'll go a little bit longer. But I would anticipate things getting wrapped up pretty soon in that regard, just because of the urgency you need to have for this kind of situation, especially right now.
Do you mind passing along any notable names that you feel comfortable reporting to this point?
Yeah, I mean, Landon Powell, I know, is a guy that has a lot of interest in the program or in the open assistant spot. He would be very tempted to take the job if offered. I'm not saying he has been offered. I'm not going to say he will be. But if for some reason he was, I would say Landon Powell is a guy who would be very, very quick to say yes if he was offered it. And I know Blake Cooper's had some interest in the pitching coach position. I know Matt Williams at Liberty's been thrown out. Those are some names that I've kind of heard, and more names will start to trickle out as viable candidates as things get going on, because Kingston's still in information gathering mode too. coaches reaching out and expressing interest as well as the guys he has on his short list.
Collyn, I spoke with somebody yesterday who pitched under Matt Williams. It's been a little while, though. Matt hasn't been at Spartanburg Methodist in quite some time, but did pitch underneath him up there, has known him for a long time, and gave the ultimate endorsement. At the same time, I also spoke to a couple of sources who highly endorse Blake Cooper. The thing with Blake, Collyn, and I'm sure you being the numbers cruncher that you are, you're big on that stuff. Folks probably look at the Citadel pitching staff and their numbers the last couple of years and go, well, this doesn't make sense. I mean, if you can't have better numbers than that at the Citadel, how's that going to equate to South Carolina? But I think it's also worth pointing out and noting the talent difference is significant, and recruiting pitchers to the Citadel, Darren knows very well, and recruiting guys, if you can recruit to South Carolina, that's night and day. Those are apples and oranges.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the Citadel is a very tough place to recruit to because of the military background associated with it. Some guys are open to that, and some guys just aren't. Obviously, the talent difference. You'll be surprised that whoever gets hired, even if it's from a mid-major or something like that, you'll be surprised at how good some of these guys are as recruiters with the interlocking SC on their shirt at some of these events and on campus visits. Because South Carolina, it's probably not the easiest place to recruit to in the SEC, but it's in the top probably 4 or 5, just because of the history and success they've had over the last couple of years.
In this state, I mean, Collyn, this state for years has been putting out players.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's why I think if, these hires are going to have some connection either to South Carolina itself or the Southeast in general, because the South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, number one are all states that South Carolina recruits, and they recruit them because they put out players. And South Carolina's made some really good inroads in Georgia, in large part because of Skylar Meade. So you'll have to try to, continue those resources there. But yeah, I think that it's going to have whoever they hire for either position, they're going to have some connection to the Southeast or the SEC, and be able to recruit that area pretty well.
Collyn Taylor, Gamecock Central, 12:42 on a Thursday afternoon. Collyn, it's fair for fans to speculate why both of these gentlemen, and they are gentlemen, they're great people, have elected to move on in their careers to other opportunities. Can you, in your words, maybe assess what they have accomplished and what they've meant to the Gamecock baseball program, and why the time was right for both of them to depart?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one is Skylar Meade. I mean, you look at what the job he's done at South Carolina, reshaping a pitching staff that wasn't what it needed to be in 2019, getting somewhat there in 2020. Obviously, things getting cut short, but I mean, he put together probably a top 10 pitching staff in the country last year. And, it was time. He had a lot of guys leaving. And it was time for him to get a head coaching job. And it's a no-brainer on his part, to go to a place where he can be the lead guy. And, he had some heat last year. The assumption was that he was going to get looks at as a head coach this offseason. He obviously did. So it makes sense from his part. And with Trip Couch, it's kind of evaluating him is a little different because he came in as recruiting coordinator after a lot of the 2020 and 2021 classes were built out. He did a really good job recruiting some of the JUCO guys that are coming in this year. Did a good job recruiting the 2022, 2023, 2024, and even they have 2025 kids committed too. Was a solid recruiter. And was a good developer, helped develop some of these outfielders that South Carolina has, and Brady Allen or Andrew Eister decided to took some steps forward defensively this year. So that's kind of his contribution. And yeah, I mean, Chip Hale at Arizona is a longtime friend. They worked in the Diamondbacks organization together, and it just kind of makes sense for him to go out there and help a friend and take another job that's, one of the better ones in the Pac-12 right now.
Collyn, the Landon Powell angle of this is quite interesting. We all know that the success he had as a player at South Carolina, He was a first-round draft pick. By the way, for those that maybe don't remember this, he caught Dallas Braden's perfect game when he was in Oakland. Matter of fact, I go back. Collyn, you may not remember this. I know you know what happened, but you may not remember it specifically. You're a little bit younger than Darren and I might be. We won't give away our ages though. But Darren, I do know you remember the 2004 draft when Oakland took both Kurt Suzuki, the catcher from Cal State Fullerton, and Landon Powell, the catcher from South Carolina, the two All-Americans. They were the best catchers in the country, and Oakland took both of them in the same draft, in the same round, the first round. I mean, it was really strange. And both of them, of course, made it to the big leagues. Kurt hung around a little bit longer, but Landon has had a sensational career up there at North Greenville. He is surrounded by a zillion Gamecocks. Trey Dyson, former All-American at Carolina. John Koutlangas, who's a center fielder for the Gamecocks, pitched in pro ball. Matt Williams was a first baseman at South Carolina. He's up there. Ryan Brown, his brother Kyle Brown, played for the Gamecocks back in 05, 6, 7. Ryan played at the College of Charleston. So there's a lot in the pipeline up there. But fans, I think, Collyn, would really like to see Landon back. I'm interested to see whether that dynamic would work or not. And I'm just going to say this from my side. I think that there's a lot of people out there that would like to see Landon Powell as the head coach at South Carolina. This is from me strictly. Okay. I'm not gossiping. I'm not making anything up. I'm just saying, based on, you get a feel for these things. You've been around it a while. So I just don't know if that would be a great fit. I think it would be a great fit as far as the baseball side of it goes, but the dynamic, it's got to be there in the locker room. You know that. I would wonder about that.
That would be my only hesitancy with Landon Powell. Obviously, because you know as well as anybody that, fan bases get very upset when you lose a game, even in baseball. And to have a guy that a lot of people, because I've seen it too on social media and on our message boards, about Landon, and if there was a head coaching vacancy, to go after him. So, you're just setting yourself up potentially, if you start to lose a game or lose two in a row, that, well, we need to go to Landon. And I don't know how that dynamic would work, if it would work. And but from a baseball perspective, you're right. Landon's put together some really good teams. Great teams at North Greenville. Recruits the portal like crazy, which is it's trickling its way back up to Division I baseball, and bleeds Carolina. That's bleeds Garnet and Black. That dude loves this program, loves South Carolina as a whole. But you're right. I don't know how that dynamic will work if that ultimately ends up being the lead assistant player.
The one thing that I do know about South Carolina baseball, Collyn, as you know very well, this is a very tight-knit group of players. It is a family, and it has been for a long time. And, Bobby Richardson and June Raines and what they established. And when Coach Tanner took over at South Carolina for June Raines, they embraced him. Obviously, he pumped out, winning season after winning season, player after player. And this program for 50 years, basically, has tied itself together. Players from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and the most recent decade, they know each other. And there's a lot of text chains out there between each other, and guys meet up for golf rounds, and they have outings and this, that, and the other. So, this isn't a head coaching change. Mark Kingston's the head coach at South Carolina, but there are rooting interests from former players in this Gamecock baseball program. And, you wonder how similar that is to what we saw and heard about when the football decisions were made.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's obviously something you have to consider. You mentioned the fact that they're a family. It's not only a family when you play there, but when you go to Omaha, those guys from the 02, 03, 04 teams, along with, 10, 11, and 12, they stay together. And of course, there's going to be rooting interest if, Landon gets a job or something like that. It's human nature because you're a teammate. You've known each other for 2 decades. And of course, that's just an interesting dynamic. And if that's the hire, then it's one of those things you kind of have to ask and say, hey, how is this going to work? Why is it going to work? What are some pitfalls that could go against us? And how do we go about fixing that? Obviously, if Powell is the hire.
Absolutely.
What's most important right now? Is it of vital importance that it's a Gamecock guy, or is it more important that it's a guy who Kingston has a either previous relationship with or who he trusts?
I think it's about trust. I think it's about trust, and I think it's about recruiting.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
that's the big thing. Now, if that happens to be a Gamecock guy, sure, great. I think y'all said yesterday Skylar Meade wasn't a Gamecock guy, and he turned out to be one of the best hires, I mean, over the course of the last maybe 5 years for South Carolina athletics. And it's all about trust and understanding what Kingston wants, how to go about doing that. And it's also about being able to recruit at a high level at South Carolina. I mean, there's a baseline level, but you've seen it. The elite teams recruit really well and get high level guys to campus. And then that's something that's going to have to be part of who gets hired, because Skylar was a great recruiter. Trip Couch was a good recruiter, and they're losing a lot of the recruiting show because of those two guys leaving.
You hit the nail on the head. It is absolutely. It's a great question, and it's all about trust. Everybody that applies for this job, now I'm not going to say everybody, but let's just say 9 out of 10, they're qualified. This and Mark knows exactly who's qualified to be able to coach here. He's going to have a great list of capable people to fill both positions, but it's about which of those people are going to fit in with his staff. This isn't Ray Tanner's staff. This isn't Chad Holbrook's staff. This isn't anybody else's staff. This is Mark Kingston's staff, and he stirs the drink. And if he wants that drink to taste good, he better have some guys who are the right ingredients around him, if you know what I mean. All right, Collyn, we'll keep our eyes peeled to Gamecock Central for that. Also, we're just a few days away from Media Days. Announced yesterday that newly number 1 on the jersey, JJ Enagbare and senior tight end Nick Muse will accompany Shane Beamer to Hoover, the Winfrey Hotel, the site of this year's 2021 SEC Media Days, and generally every year's, Beamer's going to speak at 4 o'clock on Monday. We're excited for that because we'll be able to watch him on TV for those that aren't in attendance and see what he's got to say, and he'll make the rounds following as well. What do you first of all, are you making the trip? And if you are, what are you most excited about?
I'm not making the trip this year. This is the first time we had a pre-scheduled vacation.
Ooh.
I'll be up in the mountains watching. So Will Helms, who writes for us, will be down there for us. I'll be paying attention to it. Probably going to get some dirty looks from my parents and my wife, but we'll be paying attention to it Monday afternoon. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Beamer says about Luke Doty's progression, what the offense is going to look like. If he can talk about the new transfers, the Prunties, the Rosses of the world, because we haven't heard him talk about them, and kind of see how they fit into the program, just from a cursory overview, and kind of where he sits 6 weeks out from the season starting. And I think that's going to be the focus. And I think a lot of people are going to want to talk about this recruiting class too, and the momentum that they have going on right now, because it's insane to see right now.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, and probably going to get some news today or tomorrow as well on the recruiting front for South Carolina. That'll just add fuel to the fire for Shane Beamer. What do you anticipate his tone being like when he does take the podium, take the stage on Monday, Collyn? As we know, coaches are all awarded an opening statement, and some are lengthier than others. Spurrier's was always fairly short, but then you get some guys who will chat a little bit. Beamer's not a guy who's going to get up there and just necessarily cut it off, but this is kind of also an opportunity for him to show off what Carolina's accomplished in the last 7 months and maybe tie it back to what they accomplished during the Spurrier era. So what do you anticipate his tone and his I don't want to call it a speech, but his comments maybe to be like when he opens this thing up on Monday afternoon?
Yeah, if we're going to set odds at the longest opening statements from Media Days, I'd probably put Shane Beamer near the top, not in a bad way, but I think he's really optimistic about the program, and this is obviously his first time speaking at any Media Day, so I think he's going to be long-winded in a good way, talking about each position, talking about the guys they have on the roster, talking about just the optimism. I think it's going to be all optimistic. I think it'll be very positive, and Beamer's going to try to paint a glowing picture of the program to try to excite, the people in the room about covering the team, try to excite, the fan base. And then, recruits watch this stuff too and try to, talk about the program in a glowing light from a recruit standpoint. So I think it won't be the Les Miles filibuster that he used to do at media days, but I think it'll be a long one because he's so optimistic about where things are right now.
And Collyn, I think it's important too. Recruiting is the hot topic. The quarterback position is always a hot topic. We get it, and there are other hot topics out there that are standard right now in college football as far as name, image, and likeness and transfers and, what am I missing here? Something else on the table, but all those type things that are pretty much global in the sport, if you want to call it that. Those are all hot topics. But I feel personally like some of what gets skirted under the rug for Carolina is, that they actually do have some pretty good players on this team. And I'm not saying they have 85 guys who are going to compete with Alabama or Georgia. I don't believe that to be true, but they do have guys. And I think this is a great opportunity for Shane Beamer to stand up there and say, yeah, you can talk about all the recruiting you want to. You talk about whatever else you want to. But, hey, these guys here, they're pretty good, and here's why.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And, in spring, he didn't really talk about a lot of guys outside of the quarterbacks by name, unless you specifically asked about him, just because he was still trying to get to know the roster, get to know the guys. He's been around him now for much longer, and I think that now you're going to start to hear specific things about specific guys. I think you're going to start to see and hear Shane Beamer's outlook on the season, which I think he's pretty optimistic about. He's going to spend some time trying to hype up the Enigbares, the Muses, the Doties, the Birches, the Lloyds, the Harrises of the world, because they're all good players. And he wants to get the message out about him because I don't feel like a lot of people outside of Columbia and outside of South Carolina are really talking about this program right now. And this is Shane Beamer's way to try to get into the limelight, get the program back to at least get some national media coverage. And this is his first real opportunity to do it.
Absolutely. And, I get it. People are questioning what Luke Doty's going to look like. That's fair. It's fair to question. And he'll have to get out there and prove that. It's not necessarily fair to criticize without using all the facts, which a lot of people don't do, but that's okay. Shane is going to have an opportunity to kind of highlight some of the things that Luke has accomplished in his short tenure. And as you mentioned, guys like Kevin and Marshawn. By the way, Phil Steele dropped a great stat the other day. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but if you want to use it moving forward, you can actually credit Phil Steele instead of Darren or myself. This South Carolina offensive line, the players who we expect to see, they return a combined 84 career starts. Collyn, that's a big number.
Oh, absolutely. I always hate getting sucked into this is the best offensive line over the last whatever, because you write that in the minute they give up a sack. It's like, well, see, they're not. But you return, in terms of like the interior of your line especially, Javon Gwynn's been at least a 2-year starter. It's not a 3-year starter. Dylan Wanham was a former top 200 kid. Started pretty much since the day he got here. Jackson Turntine is someone that is, number one, a massive human being. Number two, is actually going to get a first full off season at South Carolina because the pandemic cut last one short. You get Jordan Rhodes back into the mix. Jalen Nichols is someone that's played some. You just got to kind of find that guy that's going to replace Darius Hutcherson. And obviously Eric Douglas at center had a really good year last year, banged up. So there's some question marks there just because you don't know how all the pieces are going to fit together. And you struggled a lot at left tackle last year. So finding someone that can anchor that position, sure. But the interior of your line, for the most part, is set, or at least the right side of your line with Gwynn, Wanham, and Douglas, you feel really good about.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Carolina could return, believe it or not, boys and girls, 7 or 8 starters on the offense this year. If that's something that excites you, the number of starters that return, there you go. It's a pretty good number. If it's not something that excites you, well, look on the other side. They might only return 2 starters on defense, but that might not be the worst thing in the world either. So we'll get more into that as we get towards the college football season certainly. Really good stuff, Collyn. We know that you got to run, and we do too, and we know that you're all over it as far as covering the coaching changes with Gamecock baseball. I know there's a bunch of basketball stuff going on out there. We kind of ran out of time to get into that, and clearly Carolina football is on the horizon, so the team over at GCC is keeping you updated every day. Also, keep an eye for a commitment that should be announced sometime pretty soon. And Wes, Chris, and the gang, they've got that Gamecock Central for all your Gamecocks news. Hey, buddy, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. When do you leave to the mountains, and where are you going?
Oh, where am I going on vacation? We're going up to Gatlinburg for a few days.
Oh,
it's popular, man. Everyone's been going to Gatlinburg recently.
Not me. I went to Maggie Valley.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, but Gatlinburg is beautiful. Are you going to ride some of the rides, or are you going to go to Dollywood while you're up there? What are you doing?
I've been to Dollywood. My wife loves it a lot more than I do. I don't do roller coasters. So if that shouldn't shock anyone that's listening to this, I do not do roller coasters. And she loves them. No one else in my family likes them that much. So if we go, it'll be a lot of us walking around and watching her go through the loops.
Great chicken nuggets in Gatlinburg. You're going to fit in, brother. You got to hit up the McDonald's on the corner up there. It's killer.
Yeah, the top 5 list, the McDonald's on this road, the Wendy's 2 miles away. Yeah, I got you covered.
I'll tell you what, McDonald's or some other fast food joint out there would be really, really smart, though, Collyn, to implement some type of dinosaur-type chicken nuggets of their own.
I would make the commute probably once a week to go up there and get some.
Could you imagine how many families?
There's another Jurassic Park World, whatever you want. It's coming out next year, so maybe that happens.
Oh. Hey, what about the Monopoly? Do they still play Monopoly at McDonald's?
I think they might. Like every now and again. It's not like a year-round thing, but I think they have it. I don't know if they did it last year, but I think they do.
Okay. We'll check into that. I'll look at that. We'll look into this dinosaur chicken nugget thing, and I gotta follow up on this miniature cow story. So we got a lot to do during the break here, Collyn. We'll pass along anything we find out. Okay.
Yeah, please tweet it at me, and I'll make sure we tweet it again. It's something good for you guys.
It's all about the taste.
Oh man! All right, brother. Have a wonderful trip. You're gonna need it, because when you get back, it's all football from here on out, and some baseball. Yep.
All gas, no breaks.
Yeah, that's what they say. See you, Collyn.
Yeah, see y'all.
There you go, Collyn Taylor with Gamecock Central. All right, it is time for a timeout. Hour 1, it's in the books. We do have Scott Glaze ahead at 1:30. The Open being played today, and we're going to get you updated on that. We've got a bunch of college football right around the corner there, so hang tight. JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
Mike Morgan here for Gamecock Traditions. Baseball is going strong. You'll want to look sharp when you cheer on your Gamecocks. Under Armour, New Era, sideline hats, all with interlocking SC Baseball logo. 18 styles of $10 tees exclusively at Gamecock Traditions. Get on that email list by going to the bottom of the page, enter your email, and always be the first to know about new items as they arrive. You can also add a little Gamecock flair with house signs, garden flags, interior and yard decorations, only at one place, Gamecock Traditions.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risk their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston, Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Lowcountry. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit StonoFerryGolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. StonoFerryGolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
Oh, Darren's back. Oh, that's good.
I was gonna throw that helmet on. Then I realized I was wearing a Penn State hat.
Welcome back. Final hour or less than that of the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes of Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. And remember, if you're in the Lowcountry, buy one, get one half off foot-long cheesesteaks at DB's Cheesesteaks, and they're on every delivery app available, dbscheesesteaks.com. Across all social media platforms, at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater, 843-321-8893. Text line. You can also chime in via any other platform, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, just like Jamie Taylor just did. I love Jamie now. First of all, he's got a great name. Second of all, he's a Wando boy. And he is disappointed in Darren's shirt color today because it is orange. Is that Clemson orange, Texas orange, Vol orange? I can't tell.
It's faded orange. So whatever it was, it might even be closer to Tennessee orange the way it is right now. But the way it looks on the screen, it looks much closer to like Texas. But I think in real life, it's probably closer to Tennessee.
Don't throw a flag at me then as I give you the horns down sign. According to the Big 12, that's a big no-no. But they say you can do it to the fans, like you can run around to the fans and do that. Whatever.
If that's acceptable, then you shouldn't just throw a flag.
What?
I mean, if it's acceptable to start fighting the stands, then it shouldn't.
Whatever, dude. Who cares? Yeah, it's a Big 12. They won't be in there anyways. It's going to be one ACC team, 2 SEC teams, and a Big 10 team, or 1 SEC team and 2 Big 10 teams. Big 12 won't even be in it. Now the Beamer's gone, Oklahoma's out.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you there.
This is just my shot at the Big 12 for this stupid argument they're making.
That's fair. Texas won't be in there.
Nah.
So you can take that. Texas won't be in there.
I think it's fair to say that. Well, it's definitely fair to say that Oklahoma is the one team you circle and say, okay, well, if anybody can get back in there, Oklahoma can. They're in there every year. But are you buying it? Are you buying the Iowa State? Hey, they're 9-3 last year, 8-1 in the league, and they could be better. Are you buying it?
Yeah, I'm buying it. I'm buying. They bring back one of the better running backs in the country. They bring back one of the hottest head coaches in the country. Almost certain the quarterback's back as well. The hype is real.
Yeah, Brock Purdy.
And if you talk to I mean, you talk to folks who are big Iowa State fans, notably Josh Pate and J.C. Sherbert, who may or may not be, but he pretends to be. The hype they believe is real.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, they'll be. I just pulled up their schedule. I don't want to sound like a know-it-all here. I did not memorize the Cyclones 2021 schedule, but I've got it now. You'll find out in week 2 whether they're for real or not. The game is at home, but it's Iowa State. And that game's at 4:30 on ABC on September the 11th. So if they win it, they're going to beat Northern Iowa in week 1. They'll beat UNLV in week 3. And then they go to Baylor, and then they got Kansas. So, I mean, okay, well, let's look. All right, where are the stumbling blocks, right? At Oklahoma in November, that could certainly be for the Big 12 regular season championship, if you want to call it that. It might just be to confirm that both of them are going to be in the Big 12 title game. Who knows? I tell you what, man, you get Oklahoma State at home. You do have to go to Baylor, but I just don't know that Baylor's there yet. They were only 2-7 last year. They've got some time.
It's the end of the year, though, for them, right? It's the last 4 games.
Yeah. Well, the last 5 games, because October 30th they're at West Virginia.
Yep,
that's scary, dude. That's scary to me. I know that they beat them last year. West Virginia, decent year, man. Morgantown is tough, and you're going to be there on Halloween weekend, dude. That's West Virginia. Matter of fact, dude, you could really say those last 6: Oklahoma State at West Virginia, then Texas at Texas Tech, Oklahoma, TCU. I don't know where you would put that amongst schedules in college football as far as most difficult go. Maybe the second half of the year, but I'd venture a guess that's up there. I mean, that's difficult. Of those 6, 3 on the road. Yeah.
I mean, if at West Virginia scares you, the fact that Texas is behind it, that scares you even more to some degree, right? I mean, knowing that Texas is right behind them, and then behind that, you've got that 2 on the road with Tech and Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That is a challenge. And then you got Oklahoma, and
yeah, and like you said,
seemingly much
off with Iowa early on in the year.
Yeah, much easier for Oklahoma. I mean, I hate to say it that way, and not that the teams are any different, but just the setup. You got to go. Look, here's their road games: Tulane, Kansas State, Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma State.
That's Oklahoma's road games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's totally different.
If Iowa State gets there, they earned it. If Iowa State gets there, they earned it, and they're more than legit.
No question. I mean, if you just based on looking at that between those two, if you said pick a Big 12 winner, it is really difficult for me to look anywhere else but Oklahoma. I mean, I see too many stumbling blocks for Iowa State to this point. But again, in saying that, I'm not discounting that they could pop up and win this sucker. I just don't see it being anybody other than Oklahoma. I don't even know that I see.
I mean, the Big 12's wild too. You always see high scoring games. You see more upsets. It feels like, at least in the Big 12 than you do in other power conferences. So you get the sense this isn't like you got to be undefeated thing to get to the championship game, because clearly you don't. I mean, two losses could get you there. So maybe. And then, I mean, it'd be fun to see Oklahoma and Iowa State meet twice in the last three games, if you make it to the Big 12 championship.
Could be. Yeah. That is a world of difference. Just looking at those, but and then you look outside of Oklahoma State's going to be in there. I mean, Texas they're the wild card in all this, in my opinion. I mean, I know that it's Sark's first year. I get it that there is probably some pessimism as far as not necessarily whether Sark is going to be successful. I actually think he'll be pretty successful in Austin, but some pessimism as in, can this thing get there now? I mean, because you get what I'm talking about, right? Like Texas, Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I mean, these schools of the past who have shaped this sport for decades, when they make a coaching change, there is no 3-year plan. It's like, no, you just come in and win now. That's what they think.
Texas wasn't getting blown out last. The perception is, oh man, Herman couldn't get it going. Texas was nothing.
Right.
They were scoring. They were in they had basically legitimate chances to win everything they were in last year, virtually, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they were that far off. So there is, if you're a Texas fan, hook 'em. Sorry, not hook 'em.
Well, speaking of that,
there's reason to think that, all right, now I have a brand new innovative play caller who just shocked the world and how successful he was last year. Are we close enough to get over the hump just because we're making a change right there?
We'll just have to see. I mean, honestly, I don't know. Here's what I do know with this whole hook 'em thing that came out today and the soft officiating of the Big 12. Hey, week 2 for Texas, they're at Arkansas. So, and now if you are the road team, okay, so you'll bring your officials with you. Good luck throwing that flag in Fayetteville, because I can tell you right now that that place will erupt if there's a 15-yard foul that's thrown on any Razorback for giving a horns down sign on the field. I mean, they'll fall apart over there.
They're not going to be able to throw it just for the simple gesture. It's going to have to be done in a taunting manner.
You got to bring something with it.
Yes.
You hit a guy, you stand on top of him, you give him I'm with you. Okay. But that would be a flag anyways.
Right.
Without it.
So the way I believe it will be interpreted, whatever rule, if you want to call it, there's going to have to be some force behind it other than just a symbol.
There's got to be. Absolutely. I totally agree. Again, if you're new to the conversation, picture, I'm trying to bring something home in this state, but picture Swearinger's hit 9 years ago of Andre Ellington in Clemson, where he stood over the top of him and flexed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was taunting. We whether you like the rule or not, it is taunting. It was taunting. He deserved the foul, and I think gladly accepted it. But you'd have to pull something off like that, right, with the horns down. At least that's my understanding.
I would think so.
I would think so. All right, a couple of other things to get to here. Tennessee and Syracuse in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game in 2025. For Carolina fans who are hearing that, you're going, well, then that's not true, because South Carolina is in 2025 against Virginia Tech over there in Atlanta. That's right. They're both true. But what's different here, that we at least have a date for Tennessee and Syracuse, and it is Saturday, August the 30th in Atlanta, which means that the Hokies and the Gamecocks will either play Sunday night, August 31st, or Monday night, Labor Day, September the 1st, 2025. So that's noteworthy to pass along to you. It does appear, according to the reporting of Mike Bianchi down at the Orlando Sentinel, that Central Florida and Florida are closing in on a series in football, which could be announced here pretty shortly, maybe in the next couple of days or so. That would be very interesting in the Sunshine State, because mostly Florida State, Miami, and Florida have been apprehensive. Is that a good word to use?
I mean, they haven't been living up to expectations, no. And you got Central Florida behind them, put close behind them, if not even with some of them. Maybe with the exception of the expectations for where Miami could go now. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But they might be getting that series down there. So good on you, Central Florida. That would be Gus Malzahn. I mean, and maybe that's the tie. Maybe Dan Mullen says, hey, Gus, I've known you a long time. Let's get this thing done. That's more of a relationship deal between the coaches or something. Who knows? But at this point in time, it looks like that's going to happen at some point in time. We know what's happening in the upstate of South Carolina. Brent Venables now is the highest paid assistant coach in college football, $2.5 million per year. Venables given a 5-year extension to his current contract by the Clemson Board of Trustees Compensation Committee yesterday afternoon. So he's there, if he wants to be, until at least 2026. Venables being the highest paid assistant coach in college football, with Tony Elliott its new contract, the Tigers have 2 of the 3 highest paid assistant coaches in college football. So the secret sauce for Dabo continues to work. Venables agreed to that 5-year deal at $11.6 million back in 2018. That had included a base salary of $2 million per year, along with a retention bonus. And now, of course, if you look forward, it's much more than that. So congratulations to Brent Venables, who's going to be around a while. So if you are a Carolina fan or if you're in the ACC, bad news. The best defensive coordinator in college football is going to be there. I haven't seen the buyout clause, and I think that that's probably a fair question today, is if he does at some point decide that he wants to go coach somewhere else, maybe once his kids are through, what will that look like? Because you're getting up into big numbers now. You're getting up into, I mean, he's making the same money that almost that Shane Beamer is.
Yeah, and a lot of head coaches around the country, especially at some of the lower levels, right? So the first question that I had was, okay, what if he's a head coach? Then what? What's the buyout? So that's the one thing I haven't seen about the deal, but it's, of course, it's warranted. I mean, what he's done on the field speaks for itself. The fact that he's a candidate every single offseason, whether or not he actually wants to be, but his name gets thrown around, speaks for itself. The money he's making speaks for itself. I mean, and again, Dabo putting the right people around him.
Yeah, I mean, he is. Coach Sweeney has been adamant about committing to the guys that make it run up there, and this might be the lead guy in Brent Venables. That's not the only news in Clemson. If you happen to miss it, they're moving right along with the new scoreboard and completing renovations up there at Memorial Stadium. Looks like, I think it's about a $65 million deal or so, but it looks like that video board should be ready before next year, the 2022 season. The new video board will be the 8th largest in the country, second largest in the ACC. 7,100 square feet is what it will be at Clemson. So that will be a substantial upgrade. I do know, as it pertains to video boards, if we want to get into the whole video board conversation, that they're planning on upgrading the video board in Columbia as well. At Williams-Brice Stadium. As a matter of fact, some of that is going on right now. I don't think that it's going to be substantially larger, but there are some things that they're doing to improve that. So nonetheless, the Palmetto State will have unbelievable video boards in college football. You know, it was only just, Darren, it was 10 years ago, not even 10 years ago. Nobody gave a crap. You know, as long as you had a little screen up there to see a player's face here and there, nobody cared. Now it's like, oh, we got to have the video. Remember that? There was like a 3 or 4 year stretch where everybody invested in the video board stuff, and now it's never going away.
No, and don't forget, the Citadel is also putting in a new video board over at Johnson Haygood Stadium because it's all about the arms race. I mean, you can't go to a stadium and pay whatever they're asking you to pay and not be able to watch something that's as clear as what you can watch when you're sitting on your couch. That video board better be damn good. It has to be damn good. Plus the in-game experience and everything they're throwing at you at every time out and every chance they get, it better look good, and it better have all the bells and whistles that you could put on it, or it doesn't look as good as everything else that you could find.
Dude, I'll say this, like this. So I'm a big fan of Johnson Haygood Stadium. New turf, new video board, fix the stands on the other side. I mean, I get it. It costs money. I understand that. I know somebody's listening to this going, dude, you think we're not trying to, I get it. I understand that. we know that there are efforts, but like, it looks awful. I mean, it looks terrible. They got to get something done there. So
I know they're trying. I don't know if the plan is actually in place or not. I want to say it might be, but I'm not certain. But yeah, it has to get done. The old one also had to come down. That thing was decrepit.
Well, it was falling apart.
Yes.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, it was really bad. Bill said, need a new, better scoreboard at Founders Park. It's hard to read the score line. He's probably referencing the bright red numbers. Yeah, it's if you're at night and you don't, I see fine, so I can read it. But if you don't see great, it is a little difficult. I think that there are some plans to do a couple of things to the Founders Park scoreboard at some point in time. I was listening not too long ago to our buddies up there at 107.5 The Game in Columbia, Jay Phillips and and Tommy Moody and those guys. And somebody literally called in and said, Founders Park needs a renovation. I was floored. I thought, have you ever been to Founders Park? What would you, I'm not sure. Like, what am I missing? I mean, I look, I know that it's 12 years old. Oh no. And when you look around the SEC, you see some things like you're not going to recreate the dude. That's not happening. It can't happen, really.
10 years ago was one of the nicest parks in the country.
Oh, it was the nicest. There's no question about it. It was the nicest.
And it's not far off now.
No,
it's
may
not one, but it's not far off now.
It's still easily top 10. Depending on who you ask, maybe top 5. Is it 1? No, Mississippi State is. And I'd put Arkansas right behind them. But it's up there. I mean, if you asked me, like, everybody's a little different. Like, I love what Clemson has done because they've made it their own thing. You know, Doug Kingsmore's there. It's just the Cajun Cafe. Like, I like what they did. That fits them. Chad's trying to do some things at the College of Charleston that will really fit the Cougars. You know, at Carolina, there's only a couple of other things you can do. You know, maybe do something with the stands and left field. But just while we're on the topic of it, we've been talking a lot of Carolina baseball the last couple of days. If you could find a way to facilitate it, the warehouses across the street in right field, I'd find a way to get those things sold at condos right there. So then people can hang off their balconies and watch baseball every night.
Yeah. I mean, and you could sell those things, whoever has them.
Absolutely. That's downtown now.
Oh, my God. Not only downtown with a view of the ballpark
and the river.
Oh, that'd be incredible.
Absolutely. So, anyways, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent there, but yeah, Bill, I think they might be trying to get some things done on that in the near future. All right, we do have Scott Glaze coming up here in just a little bit, so we'll make sure that we update you on the golf scoreboard over at the Open. I know that Derek Scott is probably exhausted, but he won't sleep an ounce until the round is over, and it will be here before long. It is, though, on the National Day calendar. Darren, I should have looked at this earlier, and I didn't do it. I had a bunch of stuff going on this morning. It's National Give Something Away Day.
I gave away sleep when there was a guy parked in front of the house that woke the dog. Does that count?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know what else I'm giving away.
It is also National I Love Horses Day. It is Get to Know Your Customers Day. And it is National, and I love these, Gummy Worm Day.
So, I mean, now that your daughters are probably getting to that age, if they're not there already.
Those are the potty treats.
Yeah. All right. So good. So then there's a billion other things that have become gummy-eed that are out there. I mean, a million things, and they all taste the same, but depending on the day, they taste completely different. And don't dare give me that orange one if I can have that orange one.
Yeah. There's
just
no question.
A heads up.
Yeah, we've arrived there. I don't want the red one.
Oh, yeah. Try this red one.
Well, wait, you won't get any of them. How about that? Because they're mine. Okay, we're going to hit a timeout. When we return, we will grab Scott Glaze and plug him in and get the scoreboard updated out there at the Open Championship. I played golf out at Stono last Friday. I think it was last Friday. Was it last Friday?
That'd be our last day off until the weekend.
Oh, yeah. We were off last week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was last Friday. So I'm going to walk you around the course and what I saw out there. Matter of fact, Darren, I played really good golf on the I'd say through the first 13 holes. Oh. And then I was done. It was hot and I was tired and we were cooked. So we'll kind of walk through the course there as well. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike two.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come to us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Beat Up.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right, local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All three locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road. Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. Final segment, Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, at Darren Goldwater, and at Scott Glaze. Scott, of course, is the golf pro at Stono Ferry in Hollywood, South Carolina, and it's his time. Thursday afternoons here on our program. Hey, Scotty, what's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? It's Open Championships here. It's good to have a little golf with my coffee in the morning. I always love the change of pace as much as I love a prime time U.S. Open. I love the Open Championship coming on in the morning and being able to watch golf. We still have it on TV. It's great. So these couple of days are awesome, and gosh, wrapping up the year in the world of golf pretty quickly between now and Olympics and all that. And but that's always exciting, and things are exciting out here at Stono Ferry. We did airify the greens this week, so that's always a womp time in the golf world. But everybody's got to do it. It's a cultural practice that we gotta have every year, and get rid of some of that organic matter that builds up in the greens, and it's going to ultimately help to keep them firm and fast and healthy and be able to maintain all the traffic.
Wait, what? Interrupting you. They were firm and fast last week. How much faster do you want those things to roll?
Hey, man, we're trying to – I want them as firm and fast as possible. I want them to be concrete.
Yeah, I hear you.
On a pool table. That's what we want.
Yeah, and then
that makes some things even more interesting out here.
And more people need lessons from you. If you're putting down the thing of glass, more people need to be better putters.
That's right. That's the grand plan there. But no, things are good. Things are good.
Well, that's pretty good for Louis Oosthuizen. He's 6 under at the Open Championship. They are in Kent, England, otherwise known as Sandwich, Royal St. George's Golf Club, a par 70, almost 7,200-yard course where the purse is 11-5, and Shane Lowry did win it last year. But an opening round 64, Scott Glaze for Louis Oosthuizen, and then right behind him, Jordan Spieth and Brian Harman both sitting at 5 under. Oosthuizen, much like a guy who's 2 shots back, Stuart Sink, they've had some interesting years. It seems like their names are kind of been up there throughout the season, and they certainly are up there today as Louis is on top of this sucker. So kind of walk us through what you've seen in his game, and then you can go ahead and translate that right into Jordan Spieth, who sits at 5 under as well. Great opening round for the American.
So yeah, Louis Oosthuizen, really, I thought about my pick this week that we'll get to later. I did think about Louis. I should have used my head more so than my heart in my decision making. But Louis coming off of a runner-up finish at the U.S. Open, where he played great, and a lot was talked about how many times he's been a runner-up with only one major championship. I think he's up to 6 or 7 runner-up finishes now. Which is among the likes of, or in terms of runner-ups in a major, I believe Tiger has 7 to go along with his 15 major championship victories. But bogey-free from Louis today. He is comfortable in link-style golf, and in the Open Championship, he was the champion golfer of the year in 2010 at St. Andrews. So I know that there are good vibes for him in this championship. Has played good golf recently, a month ago in the U.S. Open, and was able to turn that into a 64 today. Interesting stat regarding Louis is that the last 7 champion golfers of the year have been an average world ranking position of 13. Entering this week, Louis Oosthuizen is ranked 13th in the world. So that is a nice parallel there for him, and if you believe in kind of the stars aligning like that. So I believe Louis will be around all week. We'll see tomorrow he'll have an afternoon draw, and we're seeing this afternoon that the scores are not as low as the guys that went off this morning. That typically happens, especially in link style golf. It's just going to all depend on the weather and how he and everybody else can handle it. But that goes into Jordan Spieth, 500 par 65. Jordan Spieth was a popular pick amongst a lot of people this week, rightfully so. He won the Open Championship back in 2017 at Birkdale, and prior to winning earlier this year in Texas, that was Spieth's last win. Well, when he was able to win at Birkdale, he put on another putting display that we've seen Jordan Spieth do time and time again. The guy is maybe the best ever at mid-range. I mean, that 20 to 30 foot range, you are not expecting to make putts at the rate that Jordan Spieth makes them. And when he gets going, I mean, 20, 25 footers, you can almost count them. I mean, it's almost like giving Steph Curry a wide open 3. And he had a couple of those today. He made a couple bombs, and that really gets him going. He is a very streaky player, and when he's able to get the ball rolling in the hole, especially from distance like that, it seems to just compound. He'll make several in a round like he did today. It's a great opening round. I saw a stat, don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but over the course of the past, I think 10 or 12 years, he has the best cumulative first round scoring average at the Open Championship, and he has never missed the cut at the Open Championship. This is now his 8th appearance at the Open, and it appears, unless there's going to be a huge falling off tomorrow, that he'll be 8 for 8. So I do see Spieth also being in the mix come this weekend. He did speak after his round that he loves being in the mix in a major championship. It's fun. It's different than a normal PGA Tour event. It kind of gets his juices flowing. So I really think that he'll be there, and that would be very exciting to have a couple notable names like that. Also very impressed with Brian Harmon. He also shot 5 under. He is one of the shorter hitters on tour. However, that can play as an advantage. Well, not an advantage, but can be to his benefit in link style golf. But because he's a shorter hitter, the ball naturally does not fly as high in the air. He hits the ball lower, just due to not creating as much speed and spin. Well, at a course like Royal St. George's, where the wind is such a factor and how it plays different on every single hole. We don't play many holes at this golf course in the same direction. If he's able to keep the ball low and out of the wind and play the ball along the ground, I think he could contend as well. And that's what I love about the Open Championship and about link style golf is playing the ball along the ground. And let's see, looking at the leaderboard, you've got Stuart Sink, the ageless wonder. He's also a former Open champion. What's funny about his Open win is that he beat Tom Watson when Tom Watson was trying to win and be the oldest major champion ever, and what would have been one of the best golf stories of all time, if not the best. And Tom kind of choked it away a little bit there, and on the 18th hole missed about a 5-footer for the win, and that put him in a playoff with Stuart Sink. And I think the whole golfing world was pulling for Tom Watson, and Stuart Sink pulled it off. So he is a major champion, is an Open champion. So you know that he's been able to prove himself on this style golf course, and he has already won twice on the PGA Tour this year. So quite a resurgence for him. And the best thing about the Open Championship is just what I think is the parity. A lot of different people can win. We see a lot of fluctuation in the leaderboard when the weather changes. So there are a bunch of guys under par right now. In fact, there are 47 that are currently under par. And I think all of those guys, even if you're at even par, you're still in a great position to be able to contend this weekend.
Scott Glaze, golf pro, Stono Ferry. He's also our golf pro. Scott, when you look at the course, I want to ask you specifically about 14, 15, and 16. Let me throw a couple of notes in here with that. One is that 15 is playing as the most difficult hole on the course, just 6 birdies today. However, one of those 6 came from Jordan Spieth. That is one of the shots that has gotten him to 5 under, but sandwiched between 15 is the most difficult hole on the course and the third most difficult hole on the course, 14 being number 1. And I mean, the easiest and the third to easiest hole on the course, 14 being the easiest hole on the course and 16 being the third easiest hole on the course, sandwiching the most difficult hole on the course. If you're following, easy, hard, easy. How about that? What can that stretch do for a player here? Obviously, there are strokes to be gained and there are strokes to be lost, but what is the mentality of somebody, especially somebody like Jordan Spieth, who is towards the top of the leaderboard when you enter that stretch with only a couple of holes to go following?
Well, it helped for Jordan today because Jordan was 3 under par, and then he birdied 15, which, as you said, the most difficult hole on the golf course, only 6 birdies. So he definitely was picking up more than a stroke on the field there. And then he was able to birdie 16, the par 3 there, made another long putt, or kind of that mid-range putt. So he was able to use it to his advantage to gain momentum, finishing the round. Another unique thing about the Open Championship is that there are no split tee times on Thursday and Friday like we traditionally have in every other tournament that we play. You'll go in the morning and you'll go in the afternoon, and then you'll also tee off on one day and 10 the other day. And actually, I take that back because they don't do that at Augusta National either, but in the Masters. But this is a much bigger field than the Masters. So that's why we have such continuous coverage of golf, but it's also unique in that you play the golf course 1 through 18. There's no time this week where you'll play it 10 through 18 and then 1 through 9. So everyone is hitting that stretch of holes at the same time in their round. It can lead to quite a roller coaster, playing 2 very gettable holes, sandwiched around the most difficult hole on the course. So I think especially as players are closing their round and they are they have a number in mind or a position in mind as we get to tomorrow, whether that's making the cut or asserting themselves at a certain place on the leaderboard, that you need to go get those easy holes. You need to try and pick up birdies late, and you just have to withstand number 15 there. So let's say if you do birdie 14, you can't then go into the hardest hole on the golf course playing with house money and maybe change your game plan and try to get a little more aggressive to pick up another birdie. Take your medicine, take what the golf course and the hole is going to give you, make your par. As I always say, par is your friend, and then go to 16, and then you can be aggressive again. That's how I would that would be my game plan for those 3 holes, especially coming down the stretch, and especially as things get more nervy on Saturday and Sunday when you might have a chance to win the Claret Jug.
How differently is the course playing with the lack of typical grandstands, without as many fans, with the weather that blows through there and not as many obstacles to stop it? How different has it been today?
I think it has to play, if this is even a word, it has to play lengthier than it usually would, because there are less factors out there, less grandstands. I don't know if people really make a difference, but as the ball kind of comes into a green, the last, let's say 40, 50 feet, especially if the wind is howling pretty good, if it's protected there by grandstands, that can certainly make a slight difference of a few feet. And golf is a game of inches. So we're talking about a few feet. That's quite a lot. Mm-hmm. I think this is, as I mentioned earlier, this is a really great golf course and a really great length test, because and watch for it on the coverage when you see the overhead view. These holes all go in just slightly different directions. There are no 2 holes that are just lined up right, stacked on top of each other. Much like, let's say, when we play St. Andrews next year, you play 9 holes going straight out, and then you play 9 holes coming right back in. So this is not that type of golf course. We go out, but as we come in, or as we go out and in, everything's angled a little bit differently. So you might have one hole that's straight into the wind, and then on the next hole, it's quartered a little bit. You're into, and it might be coming off of the left. What I found very interesting about Royal St. George's, Nick Faldo was talking about it, and he said that most of the time these players, him included, try to work against the wind in order to maintain a straight of a shot as possible, instead of riding the wind, because the ball can kind of get away from you. But his suggestion at Royal St. George's, based on the course setup, based on the difficulty and how you can never really tell the exact wind direction, that it would benefit the players to try and ride the wind. So, for example, if the wind is coming from the left, blowing from left to right, so for the right-handed player, that's going to push the ball to the right in the fashion of a fade or a slice. Well, most guys on tour are going to then try and draw the ball from right to left into that wind to counter it, so that the shot stays as straight as possible and they can control it better. What Sir Nick is saying is that the best way to attack Royal St. George's is to play with that wind. So if it's a left to right wind, that you would actually play for the shot to be carried by the wind. And I'm very interested to see if that's a strategy that more guys would take, listening to a several-time Open champion and major champion and an Englishman, and see if that pays true for the eventual champion.
Who wins?
Well, so my pick, and like I said, I went with my head and not with my heart, at least for the time being. My pick was Rory McIlroy. His last major championship was the 2014 PGA Championship. He closed out 2014 by winning the Open Championship prior to that PGA. Since 2014, Rory has only finished outside of the top, I believe it's 7, but to be safe, it's outside of the top 10. He's only finished outside of it twice. One time was when he did not play, when he had his rib injury. The other time was 2019 when he missed the cut at Royal Portrush in his home of Northern Ireland, which was so shocking and disappointing for him. I don't know if you remember, but he had a horrific start to his round on Thursday, shot an over par round. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, and then came back on Friday needing a very low number to make the cut and had it absolutely scorching. Needed a birdie on 18, didn't get it, ended up missing the cut. But other than that, every other Open championship, Rory has not been outside of the top 10. And I think you have to be a very good driver of the golf ball on this golf course, just due to the nature of it. If you see it on the coverage, thick rough, gorse, It's not a link style course where the ball can run forever like a St. Andrews and get into a million bunkers. You are going to have to keep the ball in play. You have to be a good driver of the golf ball. It's also not playing as firm and fast as we typically see in links courses. So having softer conditions play into Rory's hands, being such a great driver of the ball. Also, you don't have to be a magician on the putting greens in an Open Championship. The greens are typically slower than they are on the PGA Tour, so you don't see your putting statistics are not as vital in the Open Championship. Obviously, you still need to make putts. There's never going to be a time where you can win a golf tournament without making putts, but you don't have to be quite as a magician in the Open Championship. Rory has battled a streaky putter. Anytime he putts well, he usually plays well. I think at the current moment, he might be 1 or 2 over.
He's 2 over.
So
He just saved par, chipped up to about 5 feet, and just saved par. So he's 2 over.
Was that on 13, Darren?
I'm not positive, but that is the range he's in, yes.
Because I know he's coming up on that stretch. We were talking about 14, 15, 16.
Right, and he started out today and birdied the first hole, and I thought, awesome, here we go. This is exactly what I was hoping for, and we want to see it from Rory. And me, as much as I'm trying to make it a smart pick, I want to see the guy win again, and further cement his legacy as one of the greatest, not only European players of all time, but just players of all time in general. So I certainly think Rory will still go down in that category, but we need to see him get back to the top. And I thought a place like an Open Championship would be a great place for him to do that. He still can. I think he needs to take advantage of the 14th and 16th holes, as we talked about, maybe get 1 or 2 more birdies, because I do think if he's in the house at even par after his first round, we have talked at length about Rory's poor first round performances and then how great he is rounds 2 through 4. So if he can avoid giving away strokes in the first round, giving away strokes to par, I think he's still in great position. So he's still my pick. I made it public, so I have to stick beside it. But I really don't think that Jordan Spieth and Louis Oosthuizen are going anywhere. I think they'll be at the top of the leaderboard all weekend. And I would watch out for an Englishman somewhere, whoever it is. I actually, at the start of the tournament, I thought it'd be Tyrrell Hatton. I think he is also in the same boat, right around 1 over 2 over par. But I think you're going to see some noise from an Englishman. We don't have the Open Championship. It's more traditionally in Scotland rather than England. So when it is in England, I think some of these guys find immense pride, even after losing in penalty kicks last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they want to redeem one for England. But those guys would be like an Andy Sullivan, Tommy Fleetwood, Danny Willett, Justin Rose, Paul Casey, Lee Westwood. So I would just keep an eye on those guys, because I do think that there will be an Englishman near the top making a run to win the Claret Jug.
I'll say this just quick. McIlroy, that was 13, so he's headed to 14. And throughout this interview, if you're listening and not watching, you're not seeing our post-up career resume comparison of the past winners and guys on the course, the 3 that we have out there. Who is currently on top? Oosthuizen, who won in 2010. Spieth, who won in 2017, who's second right now and on the course. McIlroy, who won in 2014. Any type of resume optimization, looking for a new job or a step up in your current position, anything like that, Franklin Buchanan's been doing a heck of a job. Big-time Gamecock fan. It's the only thing he does now, too. It's post-up careers. You can find him everywhere.
Yeah, and who would like to add to their resume, the Englishmen that you mentioned, Scott, 4 of them are at 3 under. Andy Sullivan's at 3 under. So is Danny Willett, Justin Rose, and Jack Sr., of no relation to Jack Jr., but Jack Sr. is one of those 4 at 3 under. They're all in the clubhouse as well. By the way, the player who's highest on the leaderboard but not yet in is Webb Simpson. 4 under, but he is on 18. He did birdie. He's had a heck of a back 9. He birdied 12, 14, and 16, and by my calculation on the even numbers there, he might be in line to birdie 18. So let's kind of see how that works out. Dustin Johnson, for those interested, is at 2 under as well. So he's in it. And Brooks Koepka is right there at 1 under. It's a major. That shouldn't be surprising to anybody. And I want to make sure we mention this one as well. Another Englishman, as you already did, Scott, but I want to give you his spot on the leaderboard. That's Tommy Fleetwood through 14. He's 2 under. So another birdie maybe or two for Fleetwood to finish, and he's going to be up there, but he's right in the thick of it as well.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, it's true in any type of tournament golf, but especially when you have the potential for a big number like you can in the Open Championship. If you start getting in these pot bunkers or in the gorse or whatnot, you will see the leaderboard fluctuate in an Open Championship more so than any other major, typically. So for these players that are in contention, you need to avoid the big number. People are going to make bogeys. That's going to happen. And at more of a rate in an Open Championship than at other golf courses. So people are going to make bogeys. You have to avoid the doubles, the sixes, the sevens, the big numbers on the card. That's what can really hurt you. Tony Finau, for example, he's had a great record in the Open Championship the last several years. Could be a sleeper pick. He was 2 under par going into 18, made double bogey, drops him all the way back to even par, puts more people in between him and the lead. So you just have to avoid those big numbers, and they will happen. And there will be people near the top of the leaderboard as we progress through the weekend that will make a huge number, tumble down the leaderboard, and we won't see them again. One of the beautiful things about the Open Championship and about golf at this pure form, we don't have man-made, manufactured ponds and hazards of that nature. This is all just as the way the glaciers shaped it, and that's what's really cool about this championship.
You surprised by Rahm and his 2 over day today?
No, I was not surprised with him being the favorite, but also not surprised with a little bit of a letdown. We're not that far removed from him winning the U.S. Open. I still think his game, he is the best player in the world, although this week he is back down to number 2 in the rankings just by odd math there. But he's still the hottest player in the world. I think just the obligations that you have after becoming a major champion, whether it's media obligations or then family and friends and celebrations and doing this show and that show and taking the trophy here, there, and everywhere. It's just going to take a little bit away from that edge and that ability to practice. And that's why it's so hard to win 2 in a row like that. And so no harm, no foul by any means. Like I said, he's still the best player in the world in my opinion. And who knows, we might see him make a little bit of a run tomorrow and get back into it and try to win 2 in a row.
Before we get out of this, it is worth noting Phil Mickelson, a day to forget. He is dead last, 8 over, and
wow.
He still has a couple of shots or a couple of holes to finish. 8 over through 16 holes for the PGA champion, Phil Mickelson. Ooh. Maybe his mind is still in Big Sky country, Montana. Who knows? But it has been a really bad day for Phil Mickelson out there at 8 over, and it's not like he just had one bad hole. It's just been a bad day. He's got 8 bogeys. 8 bogeys will get you to 8 over real quick. So wanted to pass that along. Scott, had a great time last week on the course. Look forward to being out there soon. I was actually talking to a couple of buddies, a couple guys you know quite well, as a matter of fact, about getting back out there in the next couple of weeks. It was in great shape. The greens were definitely moving, and I don't know what the hell you're thinking with the whole aeration thing, but that's fine. And what is the most difficult hole today out at Stono Ferry?
The most difficult hole, typically, I think we have the toughest starting hole in the low country. I think number 1 is a really, really tough hole to start on. More often than not, the 16th hole is the most difficult out here. And I think it goes under the radar, because it's not one of the ones by the river. It's not the closing hole 18 with the island green. 16 is just a really well-designed, difficult golf hole. with a dog leg to the right, but it forces the player to hit the tee ball in play and in a certain position in the fairway to then approach the green. And so more often than not, 16 plays the toughest out here. But just like we talked about with the whole sandwich there, Royal St. George's, we certainly have that too. We got birdie opportunities as well.
That 16 is interesting because if you bang it and you're dead on, you're in the 17th fairway. And if you miss to the right, you're in the water or in a huge sand trap or sandy area, if you'd like to call it that. So you better you better hit it straight out there and find the short grass, as Scotty always says, or that par 5 is going to bite you at Stono Ferry. And I'm with you on one. We were talking about that last week. We've talked about this 1,000 times, but you can't miss. If you miss to the right, you don't have a shot to the green. If you miss to the left, you don't have a shot to the green. The fairway is not wide. It's narrow. You got now houses on the right. On the left, you've got the range, and then you got that tricky little creek up there. And if you go over the green, which happens a lot, you're way back there. And guess what? Chipping back across the other side of the green. Oh, yeah, that happens. It didn't happen to me last week, but it does happen a lot. So I'm with you. It's a lot of fun. I know that. The weather is going to be beautiful this weekend in the Low Country. It is also beautiful in Kent, England. They don't expect a drop of rain, believe it or not, over the next 3 or 4 days as they wrap up the Open Championship. Boy, that's rare. Maybe not even a cloud, to be honest with you.
Oh, they're clouds. I'm watching right now. They got
the next 3 days. I mean, it's just sun, and the highs are in the upper 70s. Can you believe that?
Beautiful.
Crazy. It's a great time to get out and play golf at Stono Ferry, stonoferrygolf.com. You can also book your lessons there. Scotty, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, my friend. Really appreciate the hospitality last week, and we look forward to talking with you next time.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Enjoy the Open Championship this weekend. It's always good to wake up, if you're feeling froggy, make some fish and chips at 7 a.m., get in the mood. I used to do that back in my younger days, but also want to remind everybody, because of the aerification that we did on the greens this week, for 2 weeks, we run a $39 special just due to that. The greens being bumpy and sandy as they heal. It is something that we have to do, and everybody in the Low Country around this time of year has to aerify. It's just a cultural practice that's required. But because of that, we run a $39 special that will run through the 28th. So that's always a good deal to come on out. Doesn't matter time of day or day of the week.
Wow. Darren, tweet it out, my friend.
Will do.
$39, aeration or not. That is a steal.
Guaranteed 2 putts, man. If you're aerating the greens, guaranteed 2 putt.
That's right.
That's right. It'll help the scorecard for sure.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna be like, you're not gonna believe this. You're not gonna believe it. I was only 2 over today at Stono Ferry, and then the next time they play, how'd you do? 22 over. So yeah, we'll look forward to that. Scott, thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Always. There you go. Scott Glaze, golf pro at Stono Ferry. And that is it. That is all she wrote. We're out of time on the JB and Goldwater show. Thanks to Scott Glaze and Collyn Taylor. Tomorrow, I'll just tell you what the comment is. We're going to discuss it tomorrow. A very interesting comment from Dennis Dodd with CBS. I'm saying his name because he made the comment actually on a local podcast in this state that Shane Beamer has never recruited at this level, and that gives him pause. What?
Shouldn't that be a good thing?
He has recruited at this level for 20 years. Holy moly. Wow. Listen to your local sources. Let me remind you. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. That was baffling. Darren, as always, thank you so much. Enjoy getting up at 3:59 tomorrow to watch the Open and to scare off intruders.
I'll do it.
We'll be back at noon tomorrow.